And here's what I get all the time. I get, they just built this website and it sucks. They charge me a ton of money and it doesn't even work. They said I could do all these things on the website and I can't. I have to call them just to get the smallest thing done, like change the phone number. So I have a friend. He works for a good size small business. And he just told me the other day, he's like, my website sucks. These guys charge us a whole bunch of money. We never talk to them anymore. They never call us. I'm trying to change something on the website and I just can't find where to do it. It's a WordPress site. They said that I was going to get this amazing site and I could just do anything I wanted. They said they were experts in WordPress, but things aren't working right. And this is a common thing that I get a lot. I hear this a lot in my local business community. And somebody hired somebody, the expectations were totally off. They felt like they paid a lot of money for something, but I'm sure on the other side, the customer, or excuse me, the developer felt like they didn't get paid enough. And that's usually where things start to break down. And we're going to talk about that in today's video. If you're the web developer experiencing this awkward relationship with your client, this video is for you. If you're the end user, you're the customer who just bought a site and you feel this way, this video is for you. And hopefully at the end of this, we can sort of come to a mutual agreement of what it's like to build a website and get the project done so everyone is happy. Side note, you might want to check out this video right here. It's all about questioning, do you need a website or not? A lot of people that are in this predicament of feeling ripped off or charged too much money for a website, they actually don't even need a website. So if you're in that phase, check out that video. It'll be super useful. So here's why I think this happens. Building websites and consulting with customers for over a decade now. What I've seen, usually number one, is unfortunately the customer, the person who's buying the website or buying the consultation, they don't have the knowledge of this space. So their expectations are unrealistic. And I can't fault them on that. So if you're a customer Googling around how to build a website, a lot of people who are going to try to do it themselves at first. So they look around, they find all these tools that say, hey, this is going to be super easy. Even WordPress itself says it's super easy. So they try all these things and they're just sort of conditioned to the fact that, well, is it just like Photoshop or Microsoft Paint where I'm just dragging things around and I've now got myself a website? Unfortunately, that's not the case. But what that leads to is these unrealistic expectations. Or they talk to colleagues that say, hey, we outsourced our stuff to another country and we paid pennies on the dollar and we got this whole thing done for $500. That really starts to dilute their expectations when they're talking to a consultant or a developer. So already in their mind, they're not ready to pay for what they think they're about to build and embark on. Number two, the biggest thing is the developer, the agency, the freelancer, whoever it is that you've hired, they haven't properly explained their value proposition. A lot of people, especially small businesses, are getting into building their website for their first time and they go out and they find somebody because they don't have a huge budget. And coincidentally, the person that they find are also starting their freelancer development practice. So they're not experienced with pricing. So they charge very little dollars and they don't know what to expect from that customer, right? They don't understand the requests that they're going to get. So the developer itself, you watching this, who's the freelancer, you haven't properly explained what your limitations are. So a customer might say, hey, I just need a 12-page site. You go and you build a 12-page site, and then all of a sudden they surprise you with a 1,000 SKU e-commerce site that they have. And oh, by the way, we have all these products in a warehouse we need to sell. Can you do this? And you're sort of sitting there holding the ball like, yeah, I think I can do it, but you've never done it. You don't know how to approach e-commerce. You don't know how to approach scale. The problem is you don't communicate that back to the customer because you're afraid. You're afraid of losing the customer or just feeling like you don't know what you're doing, which I totally get. I totally understand. I've been in your shoes before. You just have to relay that to the customer. You have to let them know that here's where I stop. Here's my core value proposition. This is what I'm really good at. This is what I know how to do in my sleep. And I do this for many, many customers, and it's all I do. That's what you really need to guide that customer. They start bringing in third-party things or things that you're not comfortable with. You just got to let them know. Number three, both parties get lost in the technology. figuratively and literally. So developers and agencies, again, myself included, you get sort of amped up about technology. You talk about how awesome WordPress is, and you talk about how great it is to own your content, own your data, and be able to customize all of this stuff. And you really get wrapped up in that because you know the expanse of all this stuff. You know what things can be put together in place. But the person getting lost on that technology on the other side is the customer who doesn't get all this stuff. They see how energized you are, how amped up you are, and they're like, wow, you're going to build me this awesome thing. I'll be able to do anything with it. And then they get the website and they're like, how do I change my phone number over here? And you say, well, I have to write a line of code for that. And they say, well, you just told me I could customize any page I want because I'm using this page builder thing. Yeah, but it doesn't work in the footer and the headers. And that's when people on both sides of the fence get lost in technology. Some people are super amped up about it. Some people are just getting convinced and they're like, wow, this is going to be great for me. And they realize at the end of the day that they weren't speaking the same language. And the fourth most common thing that I see is neither party is educated on the other. And I sort of mentioned this at the top at number 2. Customers coming into a development agency or an agency or even a freelancer, they don't know how this other person works. They don't know the technology. They don't know what their process is. They don't know that they have a process. So they just expect you to go and say, hey, build this thing for me. I need it last week. Can you get it done? Yeah. And they don't understand web technology in general. They don't understand how this stuff comes together. On the flip side, as the developer, as the consultant, you don't understand the customer's process. So really finding who you work really well with, you've built other websites for, you've found a stride in it, or you're working towards that is very important. You have to really understand your customer so that both parties set an expectation that they both agree to. And that's usually the fourth one that I see as a common breakdown. So ultimately what this leads to is the breakdown in communication, the breakdown in the relationship where the customer is just angry and they feel like they get taken for a ride and they can never connect with the developer that built the website. I mean, I don't know how many times I've heard this, hey, this person built me a website and now I've never heard from them again. They're not returning my emails. They never pick up the phone call when I call. And then on the flip side, the agency is saying, or the freelancer is saying, I don't even want to talk to this person. They paid me $500. They wanted me to build Facebook for them. I don't even have the time, to look at their emails, let alone solve their problem for no money. And this is a very common thing that happens on both sides. So how do we solve this? Number one, as an agency, as a developer, as a freelancer, it really starts with you. It has to be you that begins the healing process. And it's ultimately quite easy. I think many of you who are just starting out, it's a lot harder because you really don't know who your perfect customer is yet, or you really don't know what your limits are, right, in terms of your skill set and what you're capable of doing. But you really need to wrap that package up and put a bow tie on it and be really confident with things that you can develop and that you can launch to a customer. Stop taking things that you are not comfortable with. Now, I'm not saying don't challenge yourself because that's how you grow your portfolio. Ultimately, that's how you work yourself up to bigger and bigger contracts and bigger web deals. But don't go crazy right out of the gate. If something is way above your pay grade or way above your head, I can only urge you not to take something like that because it's ultimately just going to be a breakdown in the whole process. What we really want to do is get something that you're really good at doing with a certain class of customer, a certain segment of businesses or type of customer that you want to consult or develop with, and just hit a stride with that and do that over and over and over again to the same business. What that leads to is you understand the selling process way better to those customers. You can land more deals faster and more efficiently. And always remember that the sale doesn't stop at just the website. The sale ultimately continues with support and maintenance and future iterations to that website. So a lot of people get lost in thinking, okay, I'm going to price this stuff, try to make a whole bunch of money up front, build them this website, do a whole bunch of consulting all within this 3-month, 4-month span, and then that'll be done. That'll be it. Customers are really looking for long-term support, most of them. And that's way better for your business to make a little bit less on the front end, but to continue recurring payments, recurring service contracts, and recurring support for years to come, because that's really going to float the business in the downtime. So customers, here's what you need to do. You need to have better expectations. You have to have more realistic expectations when you're going into this stuff. It's the whole you get what you pay for mentality. Now, you'll talk to some developers that are going to charge you $500, and you might take that same project and an agency might charge you $100,000. There is a difference in experience, the way things are getting done. And I'm not saying that you should just ultimately pay for the highest bid, but the one that's going to be the right fit for you. Challenge them, but don't be like super rude to your consultant, freelancer, or agency. Make sure that they've serviced other companies like yours in the past, and do they have a successful track record with them? But at the same time, again, back to you get what you pay for. Don't think you're going to get everything super cheap. And remember that they're the professional, right? When a plumber comes in to my house to fix my heating system, I don't say, do you really need to run that pipe this way? Can't you just quickly, put some duct tape on it and just run it down here instead? Like, I'm not a professional, but I'll tell him that. No, I'm not going to do that. It's so easy to do that in the web world because there's really nothing tangible. We're not touching anything. We're not looking at anything. It's code and designs being written on a laptop somewhere and hosted up in the cloud. So it's easy to sort of just think this is something that is, throwaway. It's not. You have to have the realistic expectation. You have to let the professional give her guidance on this project and really take that feedback to heart. If they're telling you that you need to go in a different direction than what you've presented as the unknowing customer, then you should really listen to them. If it's this gut instinct is really going to move the needle for your business, well, that's when you can make that pivot and say, look, I really need to go this way because it's going to affect my business. Just be open to this working relationship. So at the end of the day, the true success comes out of a great working relationship between the freelancer, the developer, and the end user, the customer. It's so important that both parties meet their expectations, right? The developer and designers, they want to feel value. They want to make sure that all of the hard work that they put into this stuff, that they're getting value out of that. Because ultimately, if they are providing great value, you should be seeing results in your business. And even if it's something that isn't a direct monetary win for your business, it is something that you're not having to painstakingly figure out on your own. A great consultant, a great freelancer is going to think of future problems. And again, they can do that, hopefully, because they've aligned with many customers like you. And again, I go back to the developer and the designer. This is why it's important to find the right customers. Stick with a subset of customers that you're really good at, because when they're looking at choosing you and what happens next after you build this website, they look to you for that support. If you have the answer because you've done it before, it's going to be a win-win for both parties. So look for a successful working relationship. That's the best piece of advice that I can give to somebody who feels like they're getting ripped off from their web developer or consultant, or if you're a web developer and consultant feel like you're not getting valued. Hopefully some of this stuff makes sense to put you in the right position. It's mattreport.com, mattreport.com/subscribe. Thumbs up this video if you like it. Subscribe to the channel if you want more web developer, consultant, digital stuff, business stuff. I guess is what I'm doing nowadays. I don't know. It's a mixed bag. I hope you enjoy it. Remember, thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next video.